Hi, I'm Eva, and tonight, I have a confession to make. Every story begins with a secret, so watch until the end and discover the pattern of an unfaithful woman who always has an excuse to cover up her tracks of betrayal. I was standing on the marble terrace of the Bellagio ballroom, watching champagne glasses clink beneath a golden chandelier, when I realized my wife was the entertainment. The event was the Power of Love charity gala, February of 2009, a night of tuxedos, television personalities, and neon generosity glowing across Las Vegas Boulevard. I had organized the venue as part of my work for our corporate real estate sponsor, proud of my upward career path even as the city still limped through the ashes of the recession. My wife, Michelle, had insisted on coming to support me. She looked breathtaking, black dress, diamond earrings, the kind of confidence that made people turn. Then, across the ballroom, I saw her laughing at a private table with my boss, Richard Hanley, his hand covering hers, both of them leaning too close. The shock wasn't jealousy, it was recognition. Hours before, one of our clients had approached me quietly, leaned in, and said, "I didn't know your wife worked under another name, Tony. She's amazing, expensive, but worth it." At first, I thought he was drunk. Then I saw Richard whisper something in her ear, and Michelle's eyes darted toward me, wide with silent panic. That was the moment I understood what the client had meant. My wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was selling herself. And her biggest client was my boss. In 2008, my life looked perfect on paper, senior property manager for one of the biggest hospitality groups in Nevada, a beautiful wife, and a penthouse view of the Strip. In reality, I was crumbling under the pressure of maintaining it all. The real estate market was barely recovering after the crash, developers were scattering, and my 15-hour workdays kept me running on caffeine and sleeping pills. I was 35, earning more than I had ever dreamed of, but completely disconnected from my marriage. Michelle and I had been married 8 years, together since our Bellagio cocktail waitress days. I once admired her ambition, her charm, the ease with which she made people feel seen. But by the time I received my promotion, everything between us felt mechanical. Our conversations revolved around bills, networking dinners, and appearances. The bedroom wasn't much better. Within months of my promotion, I started struggling with performance, delayed erections, inconsistent desire, nights of anxiety I blamed on stress. My doctor called it hypertension medication side effects, but to me, it felt like failure. Michelle tried to be patient at first, suggesting therapy, then quietly withdrawing when I refused to talk about it. By late 2008, we had gone nearly 2 months without sex, and when I did try, it ended in humiliation twice. I started sleeping in the guest room under the excuse of late emails and conference calls. She stopped asking questions. We looked perfect from the outside, but the distance between us was wide enough to hide entire lives. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because what I discovered next about my wife's secret made the dysfunction in our marriage look almost innocent. Michelle always said Las Vegas was built by lonely men and ambitious women, and she intended never to be either. After I stopped initiating sex, she buried herself in what she called networking. She joined women's business socials, volunteer boards, and suddenly started dressing like she was auditioning for a magazine spread. I thought she was bored. I never suspected she was being paid. Looking back, I understand why she did it, not because I forgive her, but because I recognize the cracks where it started. Vegas runs on attention, and my wife learned how to sell it. Her first client, according to what I later found, wasn't about sex at all. It was a wealthy foreign investor she accompanied to dinners and gambling nights. $2,000 for her time, she told herself, a professional arrangement. But it didn't stay professional for long. With every man who told her she was beautiful, she regained what my silence had stripped away. My erectile dysfunction hadn't just killed our intimacy, it had redefined her sense of power. I was too busy hiding my shame to see her rediscovering hers in others' wallets. By early 2009, signs appeared everywhere, late nights, expensive new clothes, designer handbags that my salary didn't explain. When I asked, Michelle laughed it off. Perks from charity auctions, she'd say. Eventually, she stopped pretending. One night, while I worked through spreadsheets, I found a receipt in our kitchen trash, a platinum Amex charge from L. Ferris Events LLC. I didn't recognize it, but something about that name felt eerie. I googled it, and there she was, Lena Ferris, 5-star escort on a discreet Vegas network profile. The blurred photo wasn't fully her face, but the tattoo on her shoulder and the necklace I bought her for our anniversary left no doubt. There were reviews written by clients, all dated within the past 9 months. One mentioned a luxury brunette with striking hazel eyes who prefers the Bellagio penthouse suite, professional, high class, worth the price. My stomach turned. And then, the final blow, one username in the client reviews matched an internal hotel code I recognized, Ranley58. Richard Hanley, my boss, using company accounts for private bookings. I sat there in silence, realizing that the man who congratulated me in meetings was paying my wife to keep secrets I didn't even know existed. The night of the Bellagio gala connected every thread. The event raised millions for charity, broadcast on local television, but my focus never left that velvet table where my wife and my boss sat whispering. When I confronted Michelle afterward, she didn't deny it. "Tony," she said softly, her tone strangely calm, "you made it easy. You stopped needing me long before I started charging other men to feel wanted." I don't know what hurt more, the calmness or the truth in her words. I couldn't scream, couldn't hit her, couldn't even cry. Instead, I memorized every detail she mentioned, dates, clients, amounts, and planned quietly. The next morning, I sat in Richard's office pretending everything was normal, while my recorder ran in my pocket. I baited him into boasting about entertainment expenses, and about how Vegas girls always know how to double their value, unaware I already had his alias linked to Escort payments. If you think what my wife did was unforgivable, hit that like button, because the way I took them both down was something they never saw coming. Richard tried to justify it days later when rumors spread. "Tony, these things happen in Vegas," he said, waving it off. "You have a talented wife. Don't take it personally." I stared through him. He thought his money and status made him untouchable. Michelle wasn't much better. "I loved you, but you stopped existing as a man," she told me during our final argument. I needed to feel alive again. Every word was acid. "I was fighting to rebuild our life," I said, "while you were auctioning it off by the hour." She didn't flinch. That's the thing about living in Vegas, people forget the difference between transaction and betrayal. So, I turned my pain into a contract of my own. The company's code of conduct prohibited use of corporate funds for personal entertainment. Using the recordings and bank records, I constructed a file linking Richard's Amex expenses to Lena Ferris Escort invoices, cross-confirmed with Michelle's transactions. I presented it to corporate compliance anonymously. Within a month, internal investigation subpoenas were flying, accounts frozen, and Richard faced termination for embezzlement under entertainment misappropriation. The scandal hit the company like wildfire. The same Las Vegas business paper that once printed Richard's face on the Leaders of Recovery featured him months later under Integrity Investigated. When compliance requested witness statements, my anonymous file included voice evidence of his bragging, exactly the recording I captured in his office. He resigned quietly under legal pressure. Michelle's private network clients vanished the moment her real name leaked through the investigation. Confidential photos circulated, ruining her Escort alias forever. She called me crying one night, begging for forgiveness. "You planned this," she said. "You wanted to destroy me." "No," I replied. "You both destroyed yourselves. I just made sure everyone saw the truth." The irony wasn't lost on me. My short-term erectile dysfunction had cost me my intimacy, but my strategy had brought down two people who had turned that weakness into profit. The very impotence that humiliated me became the catalyst for my most powerful act. What would you have done in my place? Leave a comment, because most men never get the chance to watch their betrayers collapse in public the way I did. After the company scandal, I took a break from work and moved to Henderson, away from the Strip's shimmering sins. Michelle left Vegas for Los Angeles, trying to rebuild under another name. I sold our condo and kept my silence publicly. But privately, I rebuilt something greater, myself. In 2010, while recovering from the stress damage that had started my ED, I came across Dr. Jerry Burroughs' research on the masculinity coffee. He described it as a natural blend of 3 common household ingredients that restored blood flow and hormonal balance without medication. I prepared it daily, exactly as instructed, and within a few weeks, I began feeling alive in ways I hadn't in years. The strength, the confidence, it all returned. If you're wondering what those 3 household ingredients are that changed my life, check the pinned comment of this video now. There's a direct link to Dr. Burroughs' full information, but act quickly, it may not remain accessible for long. By 2012, I had rebuilt my health, met someone new outside the Vegas chaos, and rediscovered what genuine connection felt like. Michelle once sold my body's weakness for money, now my recovery from it funded my peace. I thought my stress had broken me as a man, but in the end, it was their greed and lust that destroyed their futures, and Dr. Burrow's 3 household ingredients gave me back every ounce of the strength they used to mock.